What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this Introduction to Python tutorial series. Today we're going to be talking about a few different topics, including comments, print, and concatenation. So without further ado, let's get started. As you can see on my screen, I have basically the same program from last time, except what are these green things? These seem a bit new. Well, if you're unfamiliar with programming languages, then you would not know that these are in fact comments. So what is a comment? Essentially, a comment is something written by a programmer which is meant to be seen and viewed by other programmers, perhaps helping them interpret the code or giving some other important information to someone else who is reading the code. The comments are special because they are not read by the compiler. What's the compiler? The compiler is the thing that essentially takes your program and tells and translates it into machine code and tells the computer, okay, here's what you're doing, here are the instructions that I got from the program, and then actually runs your program. And so when you write a comment, essentially the compiler just ignores that statement. And how do I indicate that I have a comment? Well, essentially, for a one-line comment in Python, all I need to do is put the, I guess for younger viewers, the hashtag symbol, and for older viewers, the pound symbol. Just put that at the beginning of your line, and then the rest of your line, you can type whatever you want, and the compiler will ignore it. Now, if I remove that pound symbol, this line right here will be interpreted as actual code, and as you can see, the computer is not happy because it has no clue what this English is. So we need to put this hashtag in there so that this line is ignored. All right, so that's what a comment is, and that's how we write a single line comment. Next, let's move on to print. So what exactly is print? So let me go ahead and start by explaining what a console is. So a console is essentially a way for a programmer to interact with the program. You might have seen a typical console in kind of like maybe a movie where you see like a hacker man interact with a computer, and it's all black and white text, and he's feverishly typing things onto his keyboard. The thing that you see on the screen is most likely a console, and the fake programmer is interacting with that console. Essentially, it's a way for us to speak to our computer and receive input from our computer. Output from our computer. And so, if we run our program, we can run it right now. It's not going to do much. As we can see, it opened up a console right here. Here is the program, and essentially, since there's nothing that you're telling the program to do besides make variables, we're not telling it to display anything or receive any inputs. It has nothing to do. So it just says press any key to continue, and when we do that, it just closes the console. But one thing we can do is we can use print right here. And what print does is it will print information to the console. So let's say I'm doing some super complex calculations in my program, and at the very end, I'd like to receive an output. Well, if I want to receive that output and be able to view it, instead of having it just be stored somewhere within my computer and accessible to me, what I can do is I can use print. And so we can print a number of things. So let's just start with a very simple print statement. What is the syntax for print? Well, as you might assume, what you have to do is type out print, and then we're going to use these parentheses right here. And let's say we're printing a string. We want to write our own text. So we're going to write, this is, capital H, this is my first print state. Let's just write period. There we go. This is my first print. There we go. We have written a print statement just like that. Pretty easy. Now, if we run the program, and click Start up here, what we should see is that the console has printed, this is my first print. And this is how, if I were just running someone's program, I could see what their outputs are, and later on we'll even learn how to give the computer inputs, give the computer information as a user. But for now, let's just focus on this output. So it's pretty great that I'm able to just write my own message and tell the computer to print it out, but there's so much more that can be done with print. For example, we can print out the value of variables. Let's say I would like to print out the value of my integer. Well, in order to do that, all we have to write is, once again, print. We put our parentheses in, And this time we're going to write in the name of the variable, so my integer. All right, so put in the name of the variable that you would like to print the value of. Now note something up here. What I did was I used double quotes because I was putting in the value of a string that I had just created. I came up with this message right here. It was not stored in any variable. So in order to denote that this was a string, not associated with a variable or anything, I needed to put these double quotes in right here and here. But down here, I didn't want to come up with my own value. I wanted it to print the value stored inside of a pre-existing variable. So I did not put quotations in, and instead only put the name of the variable. So just take note of that. And then when we hit start, in order to run the program, what we should see is on the first line, we see our first print statement, which is this is my first print. And then on the second line, we see 6, which just so happens to be the value of my integer. So that's basically all that there is to print. But there's some cool stuff that we can do with strings. And one important thing, at least on this level, on the beginner level, when first getting used to these kinds of programs and programming languages, what we should know how to do is probably concatenate. So what is concatenate? What is concatenation? Essentially, concatenation means to combine strings. So let's say I have one string right here called my string, and it has a value of hello world. Let's create a second string, and I'll call it my second string, and we'll let's just say hello again. That's the value that we're storing inside of this string. And now we can do something called concatenation. So one way to do this is with the plus operator. So we can create a third variable called combined. This will also be a string, but instead of just assigning it a value using double quotes, what we're going to do is we're going to take the name of our first variable, so my string, and then we're going to use the plus operator, and then we're going to take the value of the name of our second string variable, so my second string. And this should do something called concatenation. So it's going to take my string, the value stored inside my string, and it's going to take the value stored inside my second string, and it's just going to smush those two together. So what we should see is that the value of combined is hello world, hello again, because it is the combination of both of those strings just smushed together, with the second one in the statement being the second thing smushed in. Now there will not be a space between these two strings. So if we, let's just print these right now. So let's go ahead and print combined. There we go. And here, let's take a look at this. All right, click there, click start to run our program. Let's see what it gives us for combined. All right, so this is the value of combined right here, our third print statement. We see it says hello world, hello again. There's no space in there, and that's because the concatenation does not ever put a space in, it just smushes two things together. So if we wanted to add a space, one thing we could do is we could just do another concatenation. So we could say plus, and then we're gonna do double quotes, space, double quotes, and then another plus. So this is two separate concatenations. So right here we have our first concatenation, where we are concatenating this variable, my string, and this space, and this is what we call, this is essentially just a string that we just created. We created the value of a string using these double quotes, so whatever is inside the double quotes is once again interpreted as a string. So we're concatenating the my string and that space, and then we're concatenating this whole term plus the my second string. And this leaves us with a new value of combined, in which we should see that we have the third line of our program saying having a space between hello world and hello gun, which we do. So that's pretty great. We can do concatenation when creating the variable. But another fun thing that we can do is we can do concatenation within we can do it within a print statement. So This will become very useful later in future programs. But for now, let's just do a very simple concatenation within a print statement. So let's write our print statement, and spaces in there just to give us some room. And now let's say, why not? Let's just use my second string, and this works same as with the previous stuff. You just use plus. So another cool thing we can do with concatenation is concatenate within a string itself. So in order to do this, we're going to need to, of course, create a string. And then let's just create a string of literal. So we'll use double quotes, and let's write something like the number is. And just to spice things up, let's go ahead and concatenate, instead of concatenating a string, let's go ahead and concatenate a integer. So we got this my integer up here. Let's just put that in there. And so we can do that. And then we can run it. But unfortunately, what we will see is that when we run this program, we get an error. The computer is not very happy with us. Why is that? Well, the reason being is because this right here is a string, and this is a number. And so plus for numbers it operates differently than plus for string, which would be concatenation. So essentially, our computer gets a bit confused. We need to help it out. We need to clarify what exactly we want it to do and how we want it to behave. So to solve this problem, if we want to print out this integer, one thing that we can do is we can just convert our integer into a string. So what we'll do is we'll put the integer variable name into parentheses. And just out front, we'll type in str, which is short for string, and this will convert my integer into a string, which will allow it to easily be concatenated to the number is. So now we can run that. I believe I did not stop from the last time we ran. There we go. Now we can run that. And we see the number is 6. And just like that, we have concatenated within, when declaring a variable, we've concatenated within a string, we've concatenated with different types of variables, we've learned about print statements, and we've learned about comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and whenever you are ready and have experimented with this on your own, please move on to tutorial number 3. See you there.